3 chapters, 3 lessons. Chapter 1. I remember the first time I felt vulnerable. I was in school in the United States, and kids will call me names to point out our differences. You see, I was one of 2 minority families in the entire town, this sea of Caucasian faces. So my family, we stood out. We were misfits. In the schoolyard, fellow 7-year-olds would make fun of my race. My last name is Cheng, so they find very clever ways to make rhymes out of it. Ching chong Cheng, ching chong Cheng, ching chong Cheng. Yeah, Christmas was a wonderful time of year. They would call me other things. They'd come up behind me, toot this imaginary horn, going chenga chenga choo choo. Seems kind of funny now, maybe even not that offensive. But back then, we weren't even 10 years old yet. They called me other things. They called me chink. Or just the way they said the word Chinese, with such condescension. And I learned every time I showed these bullies how hurt I was, it encouraged them even more. So I'd ignore them, or I'd try to make it my own by laughing it off with them. Can you imagine? I was laughing at what they were laughing about, my heritage. It's really hard to embrace your misfit when you feel alone. I used to have bangs, the bowl cut bangs. Any of you guys have that haircut as a kid? Straight across, bangs high on your forehead. I was a dorky looking kid. I was a dorky kid who one day, in front of the entire cafeteria, got my pants pulled down. I got pants by 3 boys. The same 3 boys who called me Cheng. And I remember my heart pounding so loud. I pulled up my pants, the pulsation was deafening in my ears. I remember trying to do everything within my power to betray any emotion that would show how upset I was. That set the tone for a lot of my life. During my formative years as an adolescent, I eventually turned to aggression. Nobody was ever going to touch me or pull down my pants ever again. I was a little slower than my peers at first on picking up English, but I quickly learned how to sling foul-mouthed insults, and I bristled at anybody who ever bullied me or my little brothers. My parents, they had us trained in competition-level martial arts, so I had become a very confident, very precise kicker, and I was angry at the bullies. Sure, that gave them another thing to make fun of me about. Karate kid, hiya! And they called me the nutcracker. It was supposed to be an insult, but when you're insulting me and running away, covering your nuts, well, insult? Yeah, you run. Yeah. I liked it after all, standing out in this way. Maybe I felt like I had control. It made me feel empowered. My cousins and I used to play this game, Would You Rather. Have any of you guys heard this game before?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, it's kind of a sick game. For those of you who don't know what this game is, you have 2 options and you have to pick one. It's usually something awful versus something just as awful. This is one example. T-Rex baby arms or normal size arms with feet for hands. Yeah, it's a kind of a weird question. Or, would you rather be stuck in a room with a giant spider or be chased by a horde of flying spiders? But sometimes we would ask each other questions that would make us contemplate things that were based on our own experiences. And one of these questions was, if you could be reborn again, would you rather be reborn as a man or as a woman? I'll let you guys think about that. There are a lot of pros and cons to both sides based on your own experiences. Show of hands. If you chose woman, raise your hand. Okay, hands down. Now show of hands if you would choose man. Okay, interesting. I see a lot of you guys chose man. Me, I also used to pick man. I was the only girl in my family. I have 4 brothers. My dad, of course, loads of uncles, and even my mom is something of a tomboy. So I come from a very male-dominated family. And just by being a girl, I was a misfit within my own household. And I wanted to be strong. And being strong meant being like a man. Because based on what society has told me about girls, well, I don't want to throw like a girl, hit like a girl, cry like a girl, and definitely I'm not wearing any pink. And I was told men are less vulnerable than women. University years, I laughed along with offensive jokes that mocked women. Didn't matter. I didn't consort with that riff-raff girly stuff anyway. In fact, I wore that tomboy label as a compliment. So your jokes about women being stupid don't faze me because I'm not one of them. I'm one of the boys. Yet, despite all this external aggression, all this external confidence, I was subconsciously hiding parts of me, including my heritage. My mom, for example, would make me school lunch. She'd make fried noodles, and I'd bring it into the cafeteria, and I set it down, open it up, and the people next to me, the kids next to me, would look at it and go, "Ew, what are those, worms?" My reaction? I was ashamed. I'd push it away, throw out my lunch, and I continued to throw out my lunch many times after. Obviously, we know those kids are idiots now because all of America loves instant noodles. But back then, I just didn't want to draw any additional attention to the differences that I couldn't control. Here I was trying to stand out, but then I was also trying so hard to fit in. In school, there were other aspects of me I was hiding for fear of being rejected or teased. I was in theater, but not as the star actress. No, I was in the back, because I loved doing set design, and I was doing sound effects, which, by the way, in the US, is the ultimate outcast dorky group, AV Club. I also loved studying creepy crawlies in science club. I coded my own blog. These were all secrets, passions that were a part of me that I was afraid to show. As you might expect, I became very unhappy. I became unhappy about not being able to be all of me. I was limiting myself, cornering myself, denying myself the potential of experiences, and even just making real friends. It got to the point where I deluded myself to the point where I felt uncomfortable around girls. I couldn't even have a conversation with my own gender. I mean, what do girls want to talk about anyway? Reality TV? Shopping? Wrong. Of course I was wrong. Brings me to lesson 1. All it took was for me to open my mind and question what society tells me. And would you know it, I ended up meeting girls who are tough as heck. Women who love to go camping. Women who could code. Women who game. Women who are goofy and maybe not good at everything, but they're always down to try. Women who are good at a lot of things. In fact, experts in their field. But because they're not pretty, they're villainized. I met, befriended smart women, self-made women. So if you ask me now, Do I hit like a girl? Well, hell yeah, I do. This, by the way, is Clarissa Shields. She's an Olympic boxer and gold medalist, and I would never want to get hit by her. Lesson 2, confidence. All this time, I thought I was being honest with myself, honest with everything around me. Was I honest? No, I was mean. I was confusing being honest with being mean. And I learned later on that you can be yourself without being a jerk about it. An example of different types of confidence. There are two men here, very familiar faces, Presidents of the United States, Obama and Trump, and they are both very confident men. But one of them is kind of a butthole about everything, and it kind of makes you wonder what his insecurities are. For me, my aggression, my meanness, it was a cover-up for my insecurities for being Asian. Which is funny now because yesterday, they just announced the first Asian Democratic presidential candidate in the United States. So times have really changed, and I hope they continue to change. Lesson 3. Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you. This is a line from a popular TV show. Anyone know what TV show this is?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, that's right. Game of Thrones, Tyrion Lannister is the character who said this line. Now, even if you're the 1% who's never seen this show before, I don't know why you haven't, but it's okay, because the idea behind this line is spot on. Acknowledge who you are. Embrace your misfit. Tyrion is one of the best characters in the show because he does exactly that. He embraces his flaws, and he's not afraid to be himself. We find him relatable because he's complex and interesting. So if you're on a mission to fit in, you're going to find out it's going to backfire one day because you're presenting a one-dimensional fraud. And there's a reason why TV shows kill off guys like that. And so when I started to share what I perceived to be my flaws, my misfits, including my emotional vulnerabilities, things that I just thought were uncool, I ended up finding people, now friends, who appreciate me for my quirks, me, the person that I am. There is so much reward in being yourself. Isn't that amazing? Just by being comfortable with who you are and the circumstances that you're in, focusing on your own abilities and no one else's, you can filter out who and what matters to you. You'll find that people will naturally gravitate towards you. Think about it. We like the genuine, even though we find it so hard to be. The fruitfulness of my career, bless you. The fruitfulness in my career was not born of trying to fit in or by following the rules. It was born of being true to all facets of myself. And the day I did that was the day I saw exponential growth in my work, in my career. People, jobs, companies, brands will seek you for your strengths. And those strengths are your unique combination of traits and attributes. And now, I get to work, I have the luxury of working with people that I like, and I think they like me too. So, if you ask me again, would you rather be reborn as a man or a woman? I'd say, flip the coin and embrace your misfit. Thank you.
Nice one.
Thank you.